Hey there, welcome back. Matt Smudio here again. I'm going to continue with my response on this comment on my YouTube video. Rundown Vids made this comment. A lot of neat topics that he brought up in here. So let's see. I ended up with kind of a little commentary on technical culture around that you can encounter around Slackware and elsewhere. Let me continue on here. So you're kind of rundown vids. You're kind of outlining this scenario where you spent a lot of time working through some difficulties in what you were trying to do. So one of the analogies I'd like to make. I mentioned an analogy at the end of my video last time. I'm going to highlight that here. So one of the analogies I like to make here is, let's say it's kind of like you're walking down a nice clean trail in a sunny forest, and just kind of having a nice old time, an easy, relaxed walk, and then you look off to the side of the trail, and there's a entrance to a cave, dark, mysterious cave. Now, you may choose to go into that cave if you want. But you're probably asking for trouble if you just do this on a whim with no preparation. If you're going to choose to go into that cave, you probably want to make sure you have a flashlight, and you also want to, be ready. You want to be prepared to be careful and watch out for the things that you might expect to run into if you go into a dark, unknown, mysterious cave. Well, that's very similar to some of this stuff that that I believe you're trying to do on Slackware. There's nothing wrong with doing it, but if you're going to choose to do it, you want to go into it prepared with the right mindset, and there might be some tools and some things that you want to prepare for, make sure you have in advance. So let me see if I can make that apply here. Let's go on with what you're talking about here. So you're saying that let's see, we ended up here. I kind of explained why you got this response from the Slackware community. I'm not trying to say it's right or wrong or blame anybody or anything. Just that, just kind of explaining the mindset of where it comes from, and it's basically along the lines of, that there's a separation between like accountability or the responsibility that's being accepted by people that are creating and maintaining a distribution of software, and their relationship with the upstream software authors of all the different pieces of software that are included in the distribution. So there's and especially with Slackware, I think the Slackware community has done a very good job of defining boundaries where, there are concerns that are Slackware concerns and that would be happily addressed by people that are involved in the Slackware community. And then there's things that are not really Slackware's concern, which would be things around the internals of applications and things that have to do with how the upstream application software authors do their thing. Because again, like I had mentioned before, Slackware seeks to not meddle with the intentions of the upstream software authors. So there's that kind of boundary, and I think there's some legitimacy to what many in the Slackware community would say. If you don't do things kind of out of the box the way Slackware delivers them, then you're on your own. If you choose to go into the dark cave, you're on your own with that. Take your flashlight, have your expectations and be ready to encounter what you're going to encounter in the cave. Don't burden us with that. So, there's some legitimacy to that. Now, you will find, you'll find people that will kind of go out on a limb, go the extra length to help you with some things that they may not need to help you with. You'll find that occasionally, but it's kind of one of those things where, be happy when you find that, but don't expect it. So, okay. So, you're saying there's a few fundamentals that you think you might need to be more clear on. So in order to aid in building the community, as I have fallen for Slack. Okay, so you're saying that you've found a lot of things in Slackware that align with your sensibilities, that appeal to you, and you kind of have this minimal sensibility, which I totally align with myself. I mean, that's cool. I'm happy to hear that you've found that. Uh, okay, you're ditching GNOME terminal for URXVT. Okay, well, I could certainly understand where GNOME terminal would be something that you wouldn't want to use. I don't use it. It's a little heavy for me, and it's kind of, I don't know, it acts a little funny under some certain kinds of circumstances. It tries to be a little too fancy with the whole, you know, themed scroll bars and, you know, using the GTK advanced look and feel type with it and everything. So, you know, same thing with the KDE's terminal and with XFCE's terminal. You know, they're kind of trying to be prettier graphically, but they end up having some gaps here and there in terms of behavior and sometimes compatibility. So I tend to use Xterm myself because it's the epitome of stability and compatibility. I never have problems with it. So I just use Xterm. I have had problems with RxVT in the past. I haven't used it for a long time. Last time I used it, I had horrible compatibility problems with different, you know, terminal applications running in it. So I don't use it. I don't know what to say. If you want to use it, that's fine. I hear that it's supposed to be a bit leaner, but I don't know. Stability and compatibility are important to me, so I would stick with Xterm. But you know, you're free to do what you want there. So that's the beauty of a rich ecosystem with choices. You can do what you want. So okay, so asking for some kind of tips and stuff. In-depth explanation of sys5 init and Slack. Okay, well, sys5 init is. Let me explain it the most accurately and clearly that I can. So, sys5 init is this kind of design and scheme for how to initiate this one special process called init that kind of serves as the foundation platform where all other processes will be spawned from. And the mechanisms for how that initial process is kind of set up and, you know, gotten ready and executed it's all done in the boot process of the operating system. How this special process is kind of initialized, set up, and the system is put in a state where that special init process is the root of all the other processes. That scheme and design is what sys5 init is, and it's centered around this special init process, and all of the routines and sequence of steps that it goes through in setting in its initialization is all driven by scripts. So that's what sys5 init is. And let me just give you a quick view of it. If you go to your etc rc.d directory, you'll see these are all the scripts involved in the sys5 init for Slackware. And you know, it's real old school. It's been around for a long time, since the original AT&T Linux, or Linux, AT&T Unix. One of its merits is because it's all driven by scripts, it's very easy to get in and customize it and change it. I mean, it's real straightforward. I'm not going to go too much further into this. Just point out where it is. You're free to look at these scripts. And let me also mention, there's a thing called the Slack book, and this is the definitive reference for Slackware, and you can find a lot of these details. www.slackbook, I believe it's .org. Let me see if I'm right here. Yep, slackware.org, slackbook.org. This book has pretty much, this publication has pretty much everything you would need to learn about Slackware in it. So I would highly recommend using this as a first go-to resource when you have questions about stuff like this. But hopefully I was able to clarify a little bit for you what sys5init is. I think my explanation of what it is pretty clear and pretty easy to understand. And then I pointed you to etsy.rc, etsy.rc.d. Feel free to look through these scripts. They're not super hard to understand. So there's that. Let's see, what else are you mentioning here? sys5init, talking about packages and how packages fit into Slackware with Slack package and the different repositories that you can get to, like aliens repository, version problems, dependency problems. Let me split that off into my next video, because again, I'm thinking about migrating to VidMe, which limits me to 20-minute videos until I become a verified creator. So I'm gonna split these up into smaller video chunks. I'm gonna address this topic of packages and how Slackware kind of deals with packages and all this stuff in the next video. So thanks for listening. The next video should be coming out pretty quick here, so tune in for that, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.